Restrictions on hotel amenities spark public outcry. Executive Yuan aims for 30 billion new Taiwan dollars drone industry by 2028. White foam appears in Sun Moon Lake. South Korean officials detain impeached President Yoon. US won't invade Greenland. Taliban do not see women as human beings. India kicks off massive Hindu festival. Young gorilla rescued from an aircraft.
Hello, I'm Oceana. Thank you for joining us on Funday News. It is Wednesday, January 15th, and here are your top stories. And for today's Taiwan news, starting January 1st, 2025, the Military of Environment has introduced a policy restricting the use of single-use hotel amenities to promote plastic reduction in tourism, sparking public backlash, with some individuals even calling for a boycott of domestic travel. Minister of Transportation Chen Shikai urged the public to support the initiative, emphasizing that Taiwan remains an excellent travel destination. Eyeing opportunities in the non-red supply chain for drones, the executive Yuan has outlined a plan with 3 goals and 5 strategies. The initiative targets industrial growth, defense autonomy, and a democratic supply chain, with the ambitious aim of achieving an annual production value of 30 billion NT dollars by 2028. A streak of white foam was spotted in the Shuishe area of Sun Moon Lake, raising environmental concerns. The county government suspects the cause may be a fuel line leak from a boat or the illegal use of cleaning agents on boats or boathouses. Violators could face fines of up to 3 million NTD. And in global news, South Korean authorities successfully detained President Yoon Suk-yeol over his botched declaration of martial law, weeks after a first attempt ended in dramatic standoff at the residence where he had been holed up since he was impeached. The Corruption Investigation Office of high-ranking officials said the arrest warrant had been executed at 10:33 a.m., hours after hundreds of police officers arrived at Yoon's presidential compound in central Seoul. Nearby, thousands of Yoon supporters and critics held separate protests in below-freezing temperatures.
Yoon, who was impeached last month after his short-lived martial law order plunged the key U.S. ally into political chaos, is South Korea's first president to be arrested in office. The CIO said in a briefing, unlike the first execution attempt, this time there were no individuals or security staff actively obstructing the execution, and there were no significant physical clashes. Investigators who arrived before dawn at Yoon's presidential residence were met by members of his security service, who blocked them from detaining Yoon during their first attempt on January 3. Lawyers for Yoon and lawmakers from his People Power Party were also on the access road leading to the residence, arguing that the warrant was illegal and blocking the police from progressing toward the residence's entrance.
On Sunday, Senator James Langford dismissed President-elect Donald Trump's threat to acquire Greenland by military force, saying the United States is not going to invade another country. That's not who we are. Langford said Trump speaks very boldly on a lot of things, adding, "We've seen this in how he's handled negotiations, whether it's in real estate or in his tenure as a great president just 4 years ago." Langford's comments come as Trump has shown a renewed interest in annexing Greenland over the last few weeks.
In a statement announcing his pick for ambassador to Denmark last month, Trump wrote, "For purposes of national security and freedom throughout the world, the United States of America feels that the ownership and control of Greenland is an absolute necessity." Days later, in a Christmas Day post on Truth Social, the president-elect addressed the people of Greenland, which is needed by the United States for national security purposes and who want the U.S. to be there, and we will. Last week, at a press conference in Florida, the president-elect suggested that he would even be willing to use military force to gain control of Greenland and the Panama Canal.
Nobel Peace Prize laureate Malala Yousafzai condemned the state of women's rights in Afghanistan as gender apartheid and called on Muslim leaders to speak out against the Taliban government's repressive policies on women's and girls' education. She urged the attendees, including dozens of ministers and scholars from Muslim nations, to openly challenge and denounce the Taliban by recognizing gender apartheid as a crime against humanity under international criminal law. She stated, "In Afghanistan, an entire generation of girls will be robbed of its future."
She said, simply put, the Taliban in Afghanistan do not see women as human beings. While speaking in Islamabad during a summit on advancing girls' education in Islamic countries, organized by the Organization of Islamic Cooperation and the Muslim World League. The Pakistani education activist added that there is nothing Islamic about the government's policies, which ban teenage girls from attending school beyond the 6th grade and women from pursuing higher education. The Taliban has stated that it will use its own interpretation of Afghan culture and Islamic law, known as Sharia, to guide its policies on women's rights. Afghanistan is now the only country in the world that bars women and girls, nearly 1.5 million Afghans, from accessing secondary and higher education.
Millions of Hindu devotees, mystics, and holy men and women from across India flocked to the northern city of Prayagraj on Monday to kickstart the Mahakumbh festival, touted as the world's largest religious gathering. Over the next 6 weeks, Hindu pilgrims will gather at the confluence of 3 sacred rivers, the Ganges, the Yamuna, and the mystical Saraswati, where they will participate in elaborate rituals, hoping to embark on a journey toward achieving Hindu philosophy's ultimate goal, liberation from the cycle of rebirth.
Hindus venerate rivers, especially the Ganges and the Yamuna. The faithful believe that a dip in their waters cleanses them of past sins and ends the cycle of reincarnation, particularly on auspicious days. The most significant of these days occur in 12-year cycles during a festival called the Maha Kumbh Mela, or Pitcher Festival. The festival features a series of ritual baths performed by Hindu sadhus, or holy men, and other pilgrims at the confluence of 3 sacred rivers, a tradition that dates back to at least medieval times. Hindus believe that the mythical Saraswati River once flowed from the Himalayas through Prayagraj, meeting the Ganges and the Yamuna there.
A young gorilla rescued from a plane's cargo hold is recovering at Istanbul Zoo, while wildlife officers consider returning him to his natural habitat. The 5-month-old gorilla was discovered in a box on a Turkish Airlines flight from Nigeria to Thailand last month. After a public competition, he was named Zeytin, or Olive, and is recuperating at Polonezköy Zoo. The regional director of Istanbul Nature Conservation and National Parks said, "Of course, what we want and desire is for the baby gorilla to continue its life in its homeland."
In the weeks since he was found, Zeytin has gained weight and is showing signs of recovery from his traumatic journey. Veterinarian Gulfem Esman said, "When he first came, he was very shy. He would stay where we left him. He doesn't have that shyness now. He doesn't even care about us much. He plays games by himself." Both gorilla species, the western and eastern gorillas, which inhabit the remote forests and mountains of Central Africa, are classified as endangered by the International Union for Conservation of Nature. As Istanbul emerges as a major air hub between continents, customs officials have increasingly intercepted illegally traded animals. In October, 17 young Nile crocodiles and 10 monitor lizards were found in the luggage of an Egyptian passenger at the city's airport.
The answer for yesterday was C, urged. The dogs are urged into fighting more fiercely by loud shouts from the crowd. Did you answer correctly? Now let's delve into today's news. Taliban do not see women as human beings. Number 1, condemn. 谴责, 指责. The film was condemned for its sexism. Number 2, repressive. 镇压, 压制. They lived through a repressive military regime. Number 3, denounce. 谴责,痛斥. We must denounce injustice and oppression. Next, we have a multiple choice question for everyone to practice. Which answer would you choose? You can write your answer in the comments section. The correct answer will be announced tomorrow. And that's all for today's Funday News. Be sure to tune into Funday News from Monday to Friday and click the link below to join Funday for free. I'm your host, Oceana. I'll see you next time.